Hello, this is Severen Henderson back again with another episode of Department 3C Presents a Podcast. Today I'm going to be talking with my good friend Troy Berry. We have another episode that we did together that's going to come out as a bonus episode. The reason that is because I'm not as technically savvy as I thought I was. I've recorded it over Zoom and I uploaded it to YouTube, and I needed some extra help to get the audio going properly. So if you check that video or if you check that episode out on YouTube, I appreciate it, but it will be on the podcast as well as a bonus episode. So that was about a month ago, and we were talking about pop culture type of stuff, getting him ready for his debut on TMZ and things of that nature. So we're going to do an episode very similar to that, but just on a different day. So we're recording this today on September 10th, one day before September 11th. And at the same time, this is a show by a first responder. So I have to talk about the effects of 9/11. Like, today was the day that a lot of people were getting ready to go to bed and wake up the next day just for another day of life, and we had the unfortunate events that happened that day. Those events took our country and totally changed the dynamic of the country. But the thing that was positive, we were all together on the same front at the same time with each other. We're in a little different space now, and that's kind of what me and Troy are going to talk about on today's episode. The other thing I wanted to talk about real quick before me and Troy got into it, usually I have it on video, but I don't have video today, but I wanted to promote my buddy's new clothing line. He has a clothing line. It's called 13th Floor. The website is www.13thfhlor.com. And when this episode airs, you'll be able to get 15% off your order if you use the code DEPT3C. That's just short for Department 3C. So I'm trying to promote one of my other friends out there that's on the fire department and is also a first responder. And his code, well, not his code, but his mantra for his clothing line is uplift, empower, and elevate. So please check out their website, 13thfloor.com. Again, www.13th, the numbers 13thfhlor.com. And without further ado, Troy Berry, how are you today, sir?
I am good. Just sitting here waiting for the football game to start, and happy to be talking to you again, sir.
Okay, I'm very happy to have you on again. So you kind of got into one of the things I wanted to talk about. Football's back. So who's playing tonight? Who you watching? Who you gonna root for? What's some of your expectations for the upcoming NFL season?
Well, the game is on. Is the Houston and Kansas City. I wouldn't say I'm rooting for anybody. I'm just going to watch. I'm not a football fan, but I'm not really a fan of either one of those teams. I'm a Browns fan, so unless the Browns playing, I'm just watching. I'm not rooting, so to say.
Okay, that's understandable. Watching just for fun, just for entertainment. I'm with that. Two of the biggest black quarterbacks that are in the game right now, Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson just signed, I think he just signed an extension. Well, they both signed extensions this year, right?
Yeah, both of them signed an extension. I believe right now they are the two highest paid quarterbacks in football right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once you add in Russell Wilson, three of the top five highest paid quarterbacks are black, which is quite a remarkable feat, considering at one point that they didn't think black players were smart enough to play quarterback. Now they're at the top of the league as far as making the most money.
Right. So that's kind of speaks to one of our rival, because we're both from Cleveland, from the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson. People were telling him he should have been a running back or receiver. And that quote he made, even though, I don't really like the Ravens just because, like I said, they're a division rival, but he said it's pretty good quarterback stats for a running back. And so that speaks to how well they're doing with and at the position.
Right. Like it could even be said that, the top four quarterbacks in the league are black. Once you add in Lamar Jackson, considering that he won MVP last year, so it's been a hill to climb, but hard work yields good results.
Right. Yeah, and it's a shame.
And opportunity. You know what I'm saying? You got to have the opportunity as well. Nobody knows how good somebody can be or how well they can excel at something unless they're given the opportunity.
Right. I was just gonna say it's a shame that it even took that long to recognize the skill set. And the thing I think about how that all develops and everything is just over time, you just have what you think the prototypical quarterback is supposed to be able to do. And that just always equated to other players. I know we had some black quarterbacks break in here and there, but for the most part, it was, your position is to do everything else but this thinking position.
Right, absolutely.
So
it's kind of like, even if you go to another sport, like if you go to baseball, like a lot of the great pitchers are pretty much all white, and all of the best hitters are all black, I would say, other than Mickey Mantle or maybe Babe Ruth, cats like that. But yeah, well, Babe Ruth played outfield, but it's kind of there's not been a lot of great black pitchers. You know what I'm saying? Like starting pitchers. Like when you think of pitchers, you always think of the great pitchers like Nolan Ryan or Roger Clemens or guys like that.
Right. So just the stereotypes and stigmas and not just sports but life all around just kind of follow us and go wherever we go. So that kind of leads me down another path. I was at the beginning of this podcast, I was talking about how September 11th will be tomorrow and how as a country we were all united and all on the same front, and kind of now we're very divided as a country. I'm not going to ask you why, because I think we kind of already know why. But what do you see as something we could do to maybe come together? Like kind of that post 9/11 area, that September 12th, 2001.
Like back then, I don't think that, the country was so divided along party lines. Like all of this division today is more so political. People, just their weird feelings, so to say. Because like back then, the 9/11 thing, that was an attack on America. Like when I say an attack on America, like the country as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, this is, even though we are at each other's necks, and we probably even shouldn't be, but at the end of the day, none of us really want to see the country get attacked.
Right.
So it's kind of different. I don't even really think you can compare the two.
Well, you talk about you can't compare the time now to compare the era then, or just the time mindset we were in then.
Well, you know what I'm saying, just what brought us together back then and what can bring us together now. Like that was a tragic thing. Like you would have thought, that the coronavirus, would have brought us together as a country, but
that's
again,
right. That's what I thought too.
Again, when you go back to the whole political and the partisan thing, it's like, once the guy that's in there now got in, a lot of things changed in my opinion, to a cult.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like when he rolled in, he just came in as a businessman and not of the political establishment. So someone else's ilk, he doesn't take it serious enough, so to say. And like when you got that much money, you don't think anything but money. You know what I'm saying? So science be damned, norms and things that typically happen be damned, and people pick sides. Even though, you know what I'm saying, science has always been the thing that guided us as humans, period. You know, no, there's no evolution or no advancement in the human race or the humans, you know, being able to, you know, prosper on this earth. Science is a part of all of that. But when you get somebody in office that had 62 million people vote for him that don't believe in science, they're going to listen to what he say. Then you got the other 65 million. It's like, well, hold up. So it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's very unfortunate where we're at right now. And you kind of said what I was trying to get at, the fact that back then it was one common enemy, that was someone else, and now the common enemy you would think would be the virus, and let's get together and put it out. But when you have people giving misinformation from all over the place, it's kind of hard to stick with one side or another. The other thing I read, seen memes and texts all over the internet and things. They say two of the things that you can't empathize with are, well, one of the things you can't empathize with is something that's not happened to you, it doesn't affect you. And so coronavirus, if you don't know anybody that had it or passed away, it doesn't affect you. And same thing with racism.
Right.
If
right, like it's like, yeah, go ahead.
No, that was it. Just racism and the virus. If it's not directly affecting you, you don't really know that it's going on.
Right, like, you know what I'm saying? You can't see a virus. You know what I'm saying? But you can see planes crashing in the buildings. You can see people jumping out of buildings. You can see buildings coming down. And then you can see the news and see that, well, these people are to blame.
Right.
Or that thing is to blame. So since you can see it, you can get more angry about it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like with the coronavirus, unless you see somebody die from it, you're not going to take it serious. When I say see, I mean like somebody that you know.
Like somebody that you know, maybe a family member, a close friend, a neighbor that you saw every day, and now they just gone from that.
Right. Then you're going to take it serious. But like going back to the 9/11, you know what I'm saying? We seen that was an attack on our tallest building, or one of our tallest buildings in our country.
Pretty much in the biggest city, the most populous city in our country.
Right, and you know what I'm saying? And then like people in your profession, like the firemen, and then you got all the police officers that ran in. You know what I'm saying? And you guys are people that we consider our heroes. We've seen them people perish.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And again, we've seen what was something that a lot of Americans looked at as our strength crumble down to rubble.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that kind of thing can bring people more together than a virus, especially like you said, when we got somebody pushing, you know, things that don't line up with the science. And we've gotten so, well, I ain't gonna say we, I'm gonna say people have gotten so cultish and partisan that they, you know, don't believe the truth.
So I don't know if you all the way remember, I'm sure you do, but like back around that time, the conspiracy theorists that started coming out with different stuff, and that was even a division then. Like people was like, hey, this really happened. Other people was like, maybe not. So that was, sometimes it takes hold, sometimes it doesn't. People have their opinions one way or another, but it just didn't divide how we're, as a country, how we're divided now.
Right, like they was talking about how you can see the charges going off.
Right.
After
the floor below, and how it came straight down, and it was just so much stuff.
Yeah, it was a lot of it, and it was like, well, why did that other building fall that didn't get hit? And you know, it was a lot of stuff back there. But at the end of the day, we seen them planes fly to
a building.
So, and that stuff is still out there, you know what I'm saying? People still also, I don't know, but,
Yeah.
that's just part of being human. Everybody try to question everything instead of just using their common sense.
Yep. So while we're here, let's sit here. Let's stay here for a little while. We know we have an election coming up November 3rd, but to speak to that, some of these people that are voting now weren't even alive when 9/11 happened.
Yeah,
so,
ain't that crazy?
Yeah, it's like they read about it in history books, or they hear "never forget." They like never forget what, because I wasn't even around then.
Never forget what.
So,
right.
What do you think? Like, you have some young people in your life, like your family members and everything. Do you hear anything from different young people that have anything to say? Not about 9/11 necessarily, but just about how they think the country climate is right now?
You know what? Not really, because, to be honest, I'm not really around that many young people that are voting age. Labor Day weekend, I was around Imani, my cousin. I asked her if she was registered to vote. She said, yeah. She talked about, things a little bit, but not too much.
Uh-huh.
It's a lot of people our age that we still need to convince.
Yeah,
more than these little kids.
Well, I won't say that. I won't say more than these little kids. I'm just going to call them young people. But I think
you know what I'm saying.
Everybody needs to, take a part in what's going to go on and what's going to affect their future. So
right. So like younger people, they did get to see the kind of time when there wasn't so much strife and people not at each other's necks, and things were a little bit more smooth, and everything wasn't about politics.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're old enough to vote, and they see the direct opposite of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, well, why is it like that now? Well, the people that we can kind of school them and give them game. Well, this is what it is. Like, it's caused by this guy. You know what I'm saying? Because like I've always been into politics even as a little kid. And like even I can remember when Reagan was president. You know what I'm saying? That's how much I've been into politics.
Right.
And especially with
he
Bush.
Was president when we were born.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course I only remember the end of his presidency. I'm only 39, but
we was 8 then. Well, I was 8.
Right.
I remember because I paid attention to politics even then. I knew who the president, and that's kind of a tribute to some of our teachers as well. Even in school back then, you had to know who the president was, the vice president, how the House of Representatives works, how the Senate works, just all of that stuff. So
all of that stuff.
I still remember and know about all that from, like you said, from Reagan.
But you know what I'm saying? Other than 9/11, which is so crazy that we, are doing this podcast right now. Other than that time, and I guess you could say at the beginning of Obama presidency, there wasn't really strife. You know what I'm saying? During the early parts of Obama presidency,
mm-hmm.
But man, it's just everybody is just at each other's throat. Right now, I can't remember it being like this.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? This is the first time I've ever seen anything like this, and all these past 3.5 or so years are gonna, like when you were in school, you had your textbook, you had your different, you had your chapter, then you had the different things within the chapter, and they can just hit and hit and hit and hit. This past 3.5 years is probably going to be
a book itself.
Chapters.
Right. Forget a chapter. It's going to be 2020, the story.
Right. You know what I'm saying? It's like the kids in the future that's going to read about, you know what I'm saying? These kids that's not even born yet, not even close to being thought about.
Yeah.
When they read what happened in this year, they were like, ain't no way all of that happened.
Yeah, this has
You
been
know what I'm saying?
a heavy year, and I think just my humble opinion is that technology has helped us get to a lot of these places. Not like in a bad way, because I always say it's a bunch of great inventions: the television, and the internet. And the internet is just to the point now where you can spread anything. Anybody can say or do anything. They don't have to have any facts or be substantiated in any way. It's just,
Right.
hey, I think the sky is green. Me too. It just goes like that.
Yeah,
Before,
if you kind of look at it a certain way, it does look green for me.
right. And then you talking to the colorblind person while they saying that. But it's just that's helped spread a lot of the things. So wow, and then
Hold on, let me speak on that. It's funny you brought that up because I was
okay,
actually thinking about that today because I wanted to talk about that because I was, talk about the whole science thing. Like, it's interesting. Like you said, everything is so easy to consume. There's so much out there to consume.
yeah,
And when we're talking about science and how there's all these, science deniers out here, and they don't want to believe the science because of science. You know what I'm saying? Just think about how everything has progressed. Back in the day, you used to have, like way back in the day, you have to just walk and tell people things. They have to walk to them and tell them.
right,
You know what I'm saying? There you had you can like go to the when mail first started.
yep. Post office.
Way
You
back
could
then.
right. You could send
Post
stuff off.
office and all that. Yeah, you write a letter. Then it got to a point where, you know what I'm saying, then you had email. You know what I'm saying? You could send an email, but you couldn't send a picture with an email. You could just send words.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Then it got to the point where you could have video conferencing, or even before that, you could finally attach a picture email. Then you have video conferencing. Then you got stuff like now, like Zoom, and you got Facebook, and you got Twitter, and you got Instagram, and you have so many ways to send or receive information. And that's all because of science. And
right.
people will be on their phone, on their laptop, on their iPad, or any other kind of tablet, or even talking into a smart speaker, and saying, I don't believe in the science. Everything around you is science.
So you saying everything is pointing to science, and you saying I don't believe in the science.
And you saying I don't believe in the science. Like, it's literally a thought that I cannot comprehend. You walk in your house, you turn on the light, science, engineering,
Electricity.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All that stuff, it all goes back to science. And there's people out there, well, the coronavirus, it's just a bunch of made up malarkey. That's such nonsense, and it makes me so angry.
Yeah.
Because you use the science to say that the science ain't the science when you using the science.
Right.
It really makes no sense to me.
Yep, it makes zero sense to me as well. So I never thought about it like that, but your argument does make sense. Like you said, it's the science and everything, and they just say, nah, not that kind of science. Not
that kind of science.
Not doctor science. So that makes sense. What I was going to ask you before we get out of here, because I got another guest coming. We were talking about 9/11. We kind of sat there for a little bit, and it's coming up. Can you tell me what you were doing that day?
Oh yeah, I remember it like it was a minute ago. I was in college. I think I was in my third year. Yeah, I was in my third year, 2001. I had a roommate. He was from Ireland. He played on the golf team, and I'm in my room, sleep, getting ready to get up soon to go to class. And I heard him out in our living room our apartment. He's like, "Oh my God!" It's like in his Irish voice. And I come out, he's like, "Troy, there's planes flying into buildings." I'm like, "What?" And then at that moment, I seen another plane hit the World Trade Center. I'm like, you know what? This ain't just some guy flying around and then made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
This is likely an act of terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
So then, so you just start clicking through all the different news channels and seeing everything. Then you learn about the I think the Pentagon came first.
Uh-huh.
And then it was the flight that crashed in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like me and my then girlfriend, now wife, we were glued to the TV all day. They canceled class. And yeah, we was watching that stuff all day. It was one of the craziest days ever. So that, like you said when you first started out, that changed everything, man.
Yeah, that changed everything. My story, I was asleep on the couch and I had to go to, that was when I had my part-time fire job, and I was asleep on the couch and I just woke up and was just watching regular TV, and it just happened to see, hey, a plane hit the World Trade Center, and I thought it was like a small little prop plane or something, that kind of carry the banners that says something behind them, like,
right,
get by Geico, will you marry me? Something, like that. And I thought that hit it and it was just an accident. And while I was watching the TV, another one just came. And then that's when I was like, oh, this is like for real.
That's the fact. So it's like you woke up the same time I did.
Yep. And like I said, I was asleep because I had came from my other fire job the night before, and I was just kind of beat, just kind of tired. And like I said, asleep on the couch, woke up, turned on the TV, getting ready to go to the other station, because it's so funny that station, and I think they still have it now, that was the first day we were supposed to get our new engine, and we were all supposed to have a training where we go up there and we learn how to pump and all that other good fun stuff. So and we still learned how to pump and everything that day. We still had to come to work, but every channel every channel had it on. I remember I turned to Nickelodeon just to see if it was on there. Every channel, Home Shopping Network, any channel that you had back then, and that's back in the day when you could just flip forever. Well, I wasn't looking to escape it. I was just looking to see who had the best coverage, and just every channel had it on. The radio, when I was driving up to work, even though it wasn't that far away, had it on. And honestly, even though we were there training, I felt like that was the safest place to be, was at that fire station. So,
dude, I remember, like, it was on ESPN.
Yep, it was on ESPN.
I remember that. You're right. It was on ESPN.
Yep, it was on.
And then I remember they was talking about Cleveland, like how the planes circled Cleveland or something about Cleveland. I started worrying about Cleveland. I'm like, man,
yep. Because the plane.
I think they evacuated Tower City and all kinds of stuff, I remember.
Yep. I think the plane was like flying over. It was something to do with Cleveland because it ended up crashing in Pennsylvania. And it was something. Right. It was something to do with that. And then, my family is up there, and I called my mother. She's like, "Let's just get in the car and go to Pennsylvania." I said, "Well, what we gonna do up there?" So,
right. So that's way down the way anyway.
Right. So I said, we gonna drive into some mess. So, all right, Troy. Well, I have to, like I said, I have another guest coming on the show, but I really appreciate you coming on, and we're going to have to do this again. Like I said, I want you to be my regularly scheduled pop culture political person. So we'll talk again.
Yeah.
But you gotta be on time next time. Like I said, I
was waiting on you.
Yeah, you was waiting on me after 15 minutes, and I had told you 10 minutes earlier, but that's okay.
Dude, I was like, what's going on? I thought he was going to send me the message, but whatever. I got you. I ain't do that on purpose. I was just in miscommunication.
Yeah, you and DraftKings. All right. Well, I'll talk to you later on, Troy.
All right, sir.
All right. Bye. Okay, I'm back with the second part of the episode with Tony Staunton. Tony is a friend of Ambrosia. This is another opportunity where I get to interview someone that I just met. So they're not my buddy yet, but they'll be my buddy soon because, like I said, I'm pretty friendly and like most people. So, Tony, like I said, on the episode I had with my good friend Ambrosia, she is the bar woman, knows all about all the alcohols ever in the history of life. So if you didn't check out that episode, please go check it out if you like booze, or even if you don't. We talk about booze on there. But she was telling me, even before that podcast, the episode, that she had a friend who like worked in the industry but had times where he didn't drink. And I'm like, that does not make sense. That's like, that just doesn't really go together. So she was just telling me about his crusade, and he has a movement or a mission, Wide Awake 52. So Tony's here to talk to us about that. We're going to talk about that and how people cope, just not the opposite of booze, but booze with consciousness to it. So Tony, without further ado, how are you today?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it as well.
Excellent.
So, Tony, what made you start with the Wide Awake 52? Just kind of give me a description of it and how it goes.
So I had a friend of mine who hasn't drank for many years, another Irishman, and he was like, "Oh, I think you're
right."
drinking."
We hear the accent.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I think you're drinking too much. Blah blah blah. You should stop drinking." So I'm like, "You know what? Yeah, I can do this. This isn't a problem for me." So I was like, so then after one night of drinking with some of my bartender friends, we were like, "Why don't we make a web series about it and kind of interview other bartenders?" And then after we kind of thought about it a bit more, we decided to just do some interviews and talk about how different people, professionals in the hospitality business, like bartenders and so on, how they kind of keep a grip on it. Because what I found when I was younger, it was very easy you just kind of get into a routine where you get off work at 2 a.m. and next thing you know, you're out, and then you're at a 4 a.m. bar, and then the lights go up, and then you sleep all day, and next thing you know, a decade of your life has gone by, and you're like, so it's sometimes you got to take a step back a little bit, and it was kind of, I took a whole year off, and we were wrapping up we've got one more episode to do for Wide Awake 52. We've interviewed 52 bartenders across 5 cities in the United States.
Okay.
And then we're going to make it into a short. You'll know all about it. You'll be sick of me telling you about it when it's ready. But we got a little bit of work editing to do, but I'm very excited about it.
Nah, I don't think I could get sick of something like that. It sounds really interesting. What 5 cities did you go to?
Obviously,
of course, Chicago.
All the way to Milwaukee, which
Okay.
is, pretty far. We did Nashville, New Orleans, and Seattle. And obviously Sweet Home Chicago.
Right. New Orleans. You said Seattle?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what and you know what is so interesting about those places? Those are all like heavy drinking places. Like Nashville is like, they call it, I think, Little Vegas, and
Nash Vegas, yeah.
Nash Vegas, and people go out there and just have a ball. New Orleans, open carry on the street, do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, they're already ready for COVID before it. They were like ready to take liquor to go.
Exactly. And Seattle is the only one I don't. I mean, I know they do like super coffee and stuff like that, but
Well, it's like Ireland. It rains a lot, so they have to find a lot of creative people, a lot of people that drink coffee, but a lot of people that drink alcohol also.
Okay, cool. So you went to all those cities, interviewed bartenders, and what did you learn? What was like a common thread between all the bartenders that you spoke to?
The main thread, I would say, is that you're kind of expected to be sociable after work. You kind of, once you join a crew or a team of other bartenders, or if you're working as a server, you kind of become part of a family. And then at the end of your hard day, everyone sits around and has a drink or a cocktail, and they kind of talk about their day. And I had Karen on table 12 wanted to speak to the manager, and she was busting my chops.
You picked the right name, Karen.
Yeah, it's a quite popular name right now.
Yes,
but so there's a lot of. So what happens is the younger people. What happens is, so say you're a young lad and you're starting off, and you meet me, and I'm like older. I'm like not as old as I am now, but I'm in my 20s.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're going to start off as a bar back, so you're going to get the ice, and you're going to do all the stuff that the bartenders don't want to do. But then afterwards, you're going to be like, oh yeah, can I have a drink with you guys? It's kind of like that peer pressure, and they want to be accepted by their peers. And what happens is unfortunately, it also creates. It's just a habit of a routine, and a lot of guys when they're not working actually don't really drink that much.
Right.
It's just because we're in an industry where it's like drinking alcohol is promoted as a good thing.
Yes.
Having fun but it's like something you have to be able to just switch it off a little bit. So what happened is I found that it's basically it just masquerades a lot of other things that we as humans, just all humans, that we kind of suffer from. So it's you'll find out in your 30s, like what you're doing in your 20s is kind of like
Going to catch up.
It cleared up, the air cleared, but it took like a minute to do it, myself included.
Right. So in the industry, I know I spent a lot of times in different bars and different places. That's how I met Ambrosia, is being in a bar. But customers, especially friendly customers, they like buying their bartender or their server drinks. So is that like something that kind of factors into the whole over
Well, yeah. Well, the
drinking?
American places, yeah, you can drink by. You can do a shot with the customer.
Okay.
A lot of the Irish bars, they won't do it because the young Irish guys can't handle it, and they'll be over. They'll have overserved themselves by the end of the night, and then they can't do the money and the bars. Whereas I think a lot of American bartenders, they know how to handle it.
Okay.
And also, there's other habits that kind of fall into play with that.
Okay.
Because you're doing a full 8-hour shift, but you might have a couple of shots, but then a couple of shots might turn into like 10 shots, 12 shots, but over 8-10 hours, and your body what happens is your body starts to process it. So like when I was at my peak, I could do that, and then I'd be like, "Oh, Severen, where are you guys going later on? I want to clean up the place, and I'll meet you now.
Yeah.
I'll meet you later." But like, I mean, if I did that now, I'd be sick for 2 days. But like young me, I was like, "Yeah, let's go,"
I did that quite a lot because, well, you hit the nail on the head as far as talk about 4 a.m. bars in Chicago. That's like one of the places where you can do that, and then you can even find something after the 4 a.m. bar. It's just different places to go and different things to do. Most cities shut down around 2, and then that's just it. Go home and call it a day. But in this city, we just stay up for extra long.
Yeah, I think you have to start cutting yourself off. Like a certain time, you have to be like, "Okay, I have to do stuff tomorrow."
Right. I have a day to live. So it's kind of like you're just like a third shift type of zombie person at some point.
Yeah, you'll find actually if you go to the private clubs that are open 24/7, you'll meet a lot of firefighters and a lot of
Yes.
PD and a lot of guys who are working unusual shifts also.
Yes. Right. That's the thing. Like, I would just at work, I would be up all times of crazy times. Go home, take a nap, and then I wake up like 9, 10 o'clock. So like, what am I doing? What am I gonna do now? And then it's just leads to going out and doing other things. So I myself had to get that under control, and they say everything in moderation, even moderation. So I had to get that together. So as far as with the Wide Awake 52, and you just cut it off for 52 weeks to equal that year, did you find it hard at any point? Was it difficult, or you just was so?
So right when we were starting to do the series, I had a good friend of mine who was also a bartender, and he was a young guy, and he killed himself.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was really sad, and he knew a lot. I won't mention his name, but a lot of people in the industry knew him, and he was like a rising star. He's a really well-liked guy, and I don't know the whole story, but the point I'm trying to make is that, it's okay to not, today also is actually World Suicide Awareness Day.
Yep.
And Hope
I
for the
did know
Day had a
about that.
post today, a little bit about that. Hope for the Day is a cafe in Wicker Park, and the proceeds go towards the charity to help suicide awareness.
Okay.
And, but basically, what I'm trying to say is that as humans, we're cultured not to ask for help. We're supposed to be, and the thing is like, you should be able to ask for help, and it shouldn't be a big deal.
Right.
And I think that we just need to talk about it more. That's all. And just say, hey, you're not feeling good. Like, call your friend or, do something. You don't have to be on your own. There's plenty of people out there that have gone through the same thing that you have. And, we all have everyone has dark days and, but there is sunshine at the end. And you just have to, pick up the phone or go for a walk or, it's never the end,
Yep, you have to. I 1,000% agree with that. That's really a big part of the reason why I even started my podcast and started my show was just because in the first place we had in our service with public safety workers, just a lot of suicides. Police officers, firefighters, paramedics. Even back in my old hometown, they just had a police officer complete suicide. So my thing is we have to talk about this in some kind of way. I mean, you can't fix any problem. You know, there's 8 steps to problem solving, and first step is realizing there's a problem. Then you got to talk about the problem. You know, collect the data and everything. So that's what my show and movement is kind of about, is talking about those issues just to see what we can come up with. So I really appreciate you saying that about the guy. So again, you said you went out. So like I said, was it tough? Were you like going to these bars like, oh, look at that, they got like a new Jameson behind the bar, I want to taste it?
Well, I think when you're a bartender, you're being a member of the Bartenders Guild, you're like exposed. There's lots of places where you can go to drink and and drink for free, like to sample new stuff, and it's very social. You're meeting other bartenders who are very well able to keep up. You know what I mean? So it's not like you're when you're going out with my girlfriend, it's like she's only 1 or 2 drinks, and then we have to go.
And that's it. Yep.
And that's good I actually prefer that, because if I was dating a girl who drank like me, it would just not be good. You know?
It'd have been a problem.
But it's very easy to kind of get into, and it's great. We're so spoiled in Chicago. There's so many different brands that want. Like Chicago is basically a test market for a lot of different liquor brands.
Okay.
For the whole country.
Okay.
So we get exposed to a lot of that, and there's also a lot of people that want to educate bartenders about their product. So you get invited to a lot of really neat events, and you get to network with some great people, and you get to have a lot of fun on your days off.
Okay.
And that's right there. So you kind of have to decide, okay, is this going to be, am I going to learn something from this, or am I just going there to drink?
It's just a party.
Drink a whole bottle of free liquor. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, and it's great. As I said, we're just so spoiled with those options. You know what I mean?
Right. Ambrosia, meeting her, she took me to my first cider event, and it was a Navy Pier, and it was just fun. I mean, it wasn't. We didn't die. We didn't like drink to death or anything. But you just walk around, and the knowledge and the experience and the descriptions is so much to it as far as drinking. Like I taste hints of where an goat came and stood on this tree with just 3 hooves, and the other hoof was in the air waving at people, and the descriptions are so in depth and fun. So yeah, it's interesting, and it starts off that way, but then by the end you kind of like just not listening and drinking. At least that's what I made the
you're just
mistake
being
of doing.
sociable. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just kind of hanging out. And then we went to another thing that was sponsored where, like you said, in Chicago, they just bring so much test stuff to see how it does for everywhere else. So the biggest question I'm thinking, like, what's your drink? What's your drink of choice? What do you like?
I really enjoy, obviously, Irish whiskey. There's a big movement right now. Obviously, I'm 42, so when I moved to Chicago first, back in 2003, everybody was drinking Jameson. And Jameson kind of helped the Irish whiskey stay, held it in the market. Like, I've met people who are like, oh, Jameson's from Ireland? I thought it was American. Like, people don't even know. Wow. But because of that, it's actually caused a lot of big companies are getting involved now in Irish whiskey. So there's like a lot of new brands, like Slane Irish whiskey is very prevalent right now. That's owned by Brent Foreman. You've got Bacardi on a little piece of Teeling, just to name a few other.
Didn't know that.
But there's some other there's big companies getting involved in it now, so you're going to see a big movement. So with that, there's a lot of really nice whiskey being made. So
now, Irish, which Irish whiskey do you like in particular? Like, give me some like sleepers.
Well, sleepers, I would say Slane are about to make another pot still.
Okay,
but we could be a year or two out. Slane, but their actual regular one is delightful because it's triple cast. So all the whiskeys, Irish whiskey has to be aged for 3 years and a day. That's like their law.
3 years and a day.
Yeah,
Irish
so
whiskey.
it's but Irish Slane is triple cast whiskey, so it's aged in raw oak, charred oak, and a sherry cast, and then they blend it together after 3 years. What makes their whiskey different from everyone else is that they use a sherry cast also. Most of the Irish whiskeys are made with American oak, so the sherry cast gives it like a little bit of sweetness to it. And for the price point, it's great. So it's obviously at our bar we push it hard.
Okay,
but that's just one example. There's a huge. It's just you're going to see a lot of that right now.
Okay.
Now,
you said our bar. What's your bar? I forgot to ask you about that.
I am located at Harrigan's Irish Pub on Halstead. It is unfortunately closed right now due to the city ordinance, but we're hoping to get back open in a couple of weeks, hopefully.
Okay. Yeah,
We'll see what happens.
after we get out of Corona life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be good. You know what? When this is all over, it's going to be a big party. All the young people are going to party.
Right.
I think older people are going to be more careful, but the young people are going to rip it up.
Yeah, they're gonna have a ball. So you know what? That I still want to ask you more about other alcohols and other like sleeper picks. But before we get there, like you kind of brought up a good point with the coronavirus and young people gonna party it up, older people gonna kind of chill out. How do you think people are dealing with or coping with what's going on now? Like with booze, they say when disasters happen, booze sales go up and everything else drops off. Have you kind of seen or heard anything like that?
So basically, right now, for a lot of the big liquor companies, on-premise consumption is only 5% of their revenue.
Okay.
I have a friend of mine who works for a very reputable vodka brand, and they are huge, like in the restaurants and bars in the city. But right now, there's such a demand for their product that they have the 1.75 bottles. There's a shortage of they can't make the bottles fast enough
To put the booze
people
in.
going to Benny's or wherever their favorite liquor store is, and they're just going, all right, just give me, because they don't want to make too many trips. So they're just like, yeah, I'll take 4 of those, and then they just stock up their home bar, and that's it, So people are just drinking a lot more at home, which means that people are going to have a much higher tolerance when they do come out. So they're going to have to be like, now they're going to be drinking doubles and triples.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, they're going to be like, oh, I can't taste the vodka. And you're like,
Well, they already say that now.
okay, Karen, take it easy.
and it's like I remember I don't want to call it a mistake, but I went to bartending school. It's like you don't really have to go to school for that. But I went and when I was making drinks or learning how to make drinks, I was told to make them so that you're not supposed to taste the liquor. And then other people like, I want to taste all the vodka ever. Send it back if I can't taste anything.
Well, it depends who you work with. Here's the thing with vodka, right? All the premium vodkas, like Tito's, Grey Goose, Kettle One, they're all distilled over 10 times.
Right.
Right? Now, the only ones that you can taste are like the lesser expensive ones, like the Smirnoff or the Aristocrat, the Well vodka. You're going to be able to taste that. 'Cause have that charcoal bite on it.
I don't like it.
But the thing is, if you have like a Tito's and soda or a Grey Goose and soda, or like you're going to have like a nice soda, like a Topo Chico and some fresh lime. Or like a Kettle and Topo Chico. You're not going to taste the vodka.
Right.
Because I tried to lose weight one time and I went into the Soul Kettle soda thing and my buddy was like, you had 28 Kettle soda. I'm like, dude, why didn't you cut me out? You could have killed me. It's like, you can't taste, all you taste is the soda water.
So you just sitting around drinking
And you
soda
wake up
water
the next day and you're like, oh,
and
God,
feeling,
what did I do?
feeling great at the time. And then, like you
and
said.
you're looking at your phone and who you texted.
Oh, man. These are
I hate that guy. He
Yes.
gets me in trouble all the time.
These are all stories I do not miss.
Yeah.
Because I think if you drink to excess at one point, you have a embarrassing story where you did something kind of silly.
Oh yeah.
That face, we should have put that face on the cover of the episode. Cause I wish everyone out there in podcast land could see it. His eyes got like as big as saucers and said, "Oh yeah."
Hey, we've all been there, man. There's no shame in admitting. That could be a whole nother web series.
Right. So the thing that was so interesting about what you just said is that people are in the house drinking, and so when they come back out, their tolerance is gonna be up. I never thought of that.
Think about it. You're not a bartender, right? So you're making your own drink, and you're like watching a movie, and you're like, you know what?
Watching Cocktail.
Yeah, I don't want to go back to the bar or to my kitchen or wherever I have. I'll just pour a stronger drink, and that'll slow me down. Now, how many months are we into the coronavirus? Like 5 months?
March, April, May, June, July, August. This is September, so 6. Yeah,
Yes, you're doing that so Joe the plumber's been doing that now for 6 months, so he's ready to go rage.
His tolerance is way up there.
Yeah.
So when it's time to hit the streets, he gonna.
And what about those poor kids who are getting homeschooled by their alcoholic parents?
Oh my goodness! Now that's a whole nother study that's gonna have to be
millennials are
down
bad
the line.
waiting for it.
Right, wait until this next generation. Yeah, they're
gonna be resourceful.
Yeah, they. My son is at home. He's like watching his school presentation upside down. I'm like, dude, it's school at the same time. You can't sit upside down and watch your iPad. You're like, why? I can still see it. I'm like, I don't know, whatever. So let's get back to some more like sleeper sleeper picks and boozes and alcohol.
So,
So,
sleeper right now. One of the key guys from Bacardi just left. Juan Coronado. He just left Bacardi. He's like a global ambassador for those guys, and he went to a company called Magenta. It's a tequila company. Their old CEO just left. Mike Dolan retired from Bacardi as CEO in 2018.
Okay.
And he just started this tequila company called Magenta. And Juan just left. So you're going to see something big's going to happen with that.
okay, so tequila's right, kind of up and down. Like 1 minute everybody's wanting to do shots of tequila, and then the next minute it's like get it away from us. So tequila's always like
It's hard to
weird
tell,
me.
you know.
Yeah.
It's I don't know because we've had such a good run with bourbon and rye whiskey the last 10 years. I don't know what's going to be next. Do you think champagne's going to come back or?
And you know what? For me, it used to be when I was younger. It used to be all what like rappers would do, and like rappers were really
Sure, Cristal.
Yeah, well, now they hate Cristal because Cristal said we didn't want you guys drinking Cristal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so like Jay-Z had the Ace of Spade, and then like another rapper, Rick Ross, he was promoting something else. It's just they all that was the big craze that they were buying alcohol brands, and I know a lot of actors. Like I think George Clooney has
Yeah,
a
he sold
tequila
a tequila brand
brand.
to for like almost $1 billion, right?
Right, and I heard Jennifer Lopez. I think she had something to do with a brand, and then she was trying to buy the Mets with the money she made from the alcohol. I might be. I need a fact checker one day when I get big enough. I have somebody look up all that information for us. But so to me, it seems that like a lot of celebrities usually push. Which alcohols are going on. And then like product placement in movies and like I said, songs, for instance, I'm drinking this, I'm drinking that. And a lot of times those taste disgusting. Like they're not always good. So, or like Diddy, like he has Ciroc and now they have like every flavor of Ciroc ever. And like if you mix them together, they taste like medicine, and then they don't even have Ciroc in real bars and things like that.
I don't see it as much anymore.
Yeah, right. When it first came out, it was cool. I actually liked it, but now like with all the flavors and everything, it's kind of like it's kind of oversaturated to me. So those are not good ones.
Yeah, flavored vodka's kind of on the back burner at the moment.
Yeah,
because
at the
people want
moment.
to drink healthy. They're trying to just drink vodka soda or. Gluten free and all, but all that is all gluten free anyway.
Right.
Like, put that sugar in it, the sweetener that contributes to your hangover. But again, if you drink 10 of anything, if you drink 15 of anything, you're going to have a hangover.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether it has sugar in it or not.
Or not,
Yeah.
right. At the end of the day, you're still drinking alcohol. So
Sure, you
yeah.
got to just be cool. You got to know when it's time to call it a night.
So speaking of that, knowing when it's time to call it a night, do you have any? I know one of the things, like I said, when I was going to bartender school, they were trying to teach us how to identify when a customer has had too much and you don't want to overserve anyone. Can you give me some descriptions of that? How you can tell when it's time to shut it down? In your personal opinion?
Well, when we're training the new guys and stuff like that, you want to teach them about serving alcohol responsibly because I want you to come back. I don't want you to have a good time. And the big thing that we pride ourselves at our bar is that the ladies, single ladies, feel very comfortable at our bar.
Mm-hmm.
We have karaoke and it's on the TVs and it's everyone's singing their favorite Lady Gaga song.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you take care of the ladies, then I'm giving you away my secrets now. But if you take care of the ladies, then the boys will come and they'll spend a lot of money and then I make money and then everyone's happy.
Everybody's
right?
happy.
Yeah, if you take care of the ladies, if you look out for them, keep them safe. So I always find like the young guys are always trying to give her like more shots,
Yeah.
And then my friend would be served. And I'm like, no, dude, hang on. That's a 110-pound, 5'2" Italian American girl. She probably doesn't need to do 4 shots of Patron all in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Just give her water. Just tell her, hey, take 5,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise you're going to be cleaning it up. And we don't want. That's no fun. You got to just slow it down.
Yes.
You don't want to slow it down.
Have been there before as well. So yes, you don't want to be the cleanup person. Have to. Deal with
That's
that.
no fun.
that's-
And
It's supposed to enhance, improve. You're not there to be sloppy and.
we've all been there.
We have been there. Well,
And there's no judgment. When people leave the bar, say you come into my bar and you're a young lad, you're having fun, and you're not causing any trouble, but maybe you're not feeling too good, you're not feeling too hot, you go home and you come in the next. I always tell the staff, don't ever say anything. These people are spending they work really hard for their money, and coming and having a good time. Don't. I had one door guy. He's like, "Oh, you're so drunk." I'm like, "Dude, what are you doing? Just be quiet. You're not his mom. Just leave him alone.
Don't make him.
you know?
Don't make him feel.
No,
feel
you want to have a
worse.
good. Every day is a new day. You know.
Exactly. Every day is a new day. Just we're here to have fun, and
Yeah,
that's
we're
what
just
you want to
entertaining, you know?
provide. That's what you want to provide. So, right. That's great.
The great thing with the city though is like no one drives. Everyone takes like an Uber or a Lyft or. I'm with public transport. It's very easy to get home.
Yes.
So I think when you're in the suburbs, it's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, stuff is more spread out and a little bit further away. Yeah, here. And the one thing that I appreciate and like about our city is that the bars are so close. Like a lot of bars, and then they like it that way because no bar is like, yeah, I'm over here on the island all by myself. This is the only place you can come. So
Well, yeah, it's good if you want to. If people are dating and stuff like that. Everything's not on an app. You still, although I haven't seen a lot of guys go and do the strikeout move.
what's the strikeout move?
I've seen less of that. Where there's like you'll see like so there'll be like three girls at the bar, beautiful girls, they're on the phone. There'll be like another guy at the end of the bar. He's on his phone, and no one goes, "Hey, send that girl a drink on my tab." Like no one has any.
They don't do that anymore?
No, I don't see it as much, man. I don't have the like Dave Chappelle would say, classic moments in hookup history.
Yes.
I don't see that anymore.
Right. When he
I don't see him
intercepted
go,
the
okay, I've
keys."
got to take care of the friend and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's less of that now.
So it's more swiping, more what's the apps? Bumble, Tinder, all of those. I don't know the names of. I've been out of the game too long. So I don't
Well,
know.
it's all about meeting people, right?
Right. And all digitally meeting people, and like somebody beautiful could be sitting right next to you, just missing them.
But I don't know now. I mean, I'm 42, so I don't even know if I even said something to a girl. She might think I might call the police on me. I don't know. I mean, she'd be like, "Ugh!" Like they're not even prepared. I don't even know. It's a whole new world out there.
It's a whole new world, and then it's going to be a whole another new world when we're done with Corona, when everything like finally gets open for real.
It'll be fine. We're gonna be fine. I think we're best case scenario. It's gonna finish right around the election. Worst case scenario, we'll be back in business by the springtime.
That's what I think. I just personal wise think springtime because cold and flu season is coming up September, October-ish. Then you got to kind of ride that out, and it's still gonna be cold outside. So that's what I think. But for business sake, the sooner the better. Just because it's. People want to make money. People want to enjoy their lives.
Yeah, it's holding everything up.
Yes, that's the only thing.
But people have to get. We have to get this vaccine out, and people have to get healthy, and hopefully it'll all
be
hopefully
good.
It's going to get better.
So more booze talk. So for a moment, myself, I was on a big Scotch kick. I liked Scotches a lot. What's the one that I used to like the most? Lafroig.
Lafroig.
Yeah.
It's very smoky. If you just smoke a cigar, it goes really good with that.
Right.
There's an Irish whiskey called Connemara.
Connemara, okay.
Yeah, they smoke it with peat. It's got a very similar flavor to that.
It tastes, it's real smoky, and then some of them are real earthy. It kind of tastes like you drinking.
But then some of them are sweet, like some of them are just so smooth.
Yeah, and like when I had that, like I never had any problems, any hangovers, anything. It was, and then other stuff I drink, it tastes like I drank poison from Cinderella. And
You got to find your way around. I remember years ago I was having an argument with this guy about Scotch and Irish whiskey because Irish whiskey is distilled 3 times and Scotch is traditionally distilled twice. And I was just ordering like a regular brand. I wasn't going high end, so I ordered everyone a shot of Jameson. And the guy came back and we were like I was visiting a friend of mine and it was a nice place. So not really in my not in my part of the food chain, but I was visiting a friend. So I was like, yeah. So we had the 3 shots came out, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, that's because you guys mess it up." So there was 3 of us, and we're smoking cigars, and he ordered. So there was only 3 of us. He ordered 4 double Johnny Blue Label.
Oh.
So it was a little bit more expensive than Jameson.
Yeah.
So he was like, and I was like, "Who's the 4th one for?" He goes, "Don't worry, I'll show you." So he brings out the Blue Label, and I'm like, "Sweet." He takes a cigar and he dips it. The 4th one was to dip the cigar and smoke it. It tastes really good, especially when someone else is paying for it. So I had to agree with him on that one. Yeah.
I never heard of that one, but you were in the right place. Like you said, you were on the high side of town.
Yeah. It tasted good. Alcohol, okay, you want some pro tips? Alcohol always tastes better when someone else is paying for it.
That is the best.
Extra something special,
I feel that way about home-cooked meals. It always tastes better when somebody else is doing it, and I can just show up. So I know what you're saying. Redbreast. That's what I was going to ask you about.
It's a very famous pot still whiskey from Ireland.
That's the Irish whiskey that I think I like the most.
It's real nice.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
What's great about that category, pot still, is that there are going to be a lot more pot stills coming out, like lots of different ones. But Redbreast is the only macro. Macro meaning like you can get that pretty much anywhere.
Okay.
I know it is still expensive, but you can get it pretty much. You can get it even at our bar. We have it.
Okay. Now, what's pot stilling?
Basically, it just means that it was like in a single pot still, and then it was just aged in a single cast.
Okay. So just one, come out, drink it up.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you were talking about the distilling process and how things are triple distilled and 10 times distilled. Doesn't like extra distilling take away a lot of the properties that makes the alcohol tasty?
So here's the thing. Pot still was the original way that they made Irish whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then there's this guy. He used to work for the IRS. He was a tax guy. His name was Coffey. That was his last name.
Okay.
And he came up with this thing called stack stills to create triple distillation. Mm-hmm. And the Irish whiskey makers are like, we don't want it. So he went to Scotland, and they were like, yeah, we'll take it.
Okay.
All right. So this is all right. We're all around the time where then Ireland had its revolution against the Brits. Mm-hmm. And before that, the British Empire would distribute Irish whiskey everywhere in the empire. So like Australia, Canada, wherever the Limeys went, they'd sell the Irish whiskey. Mm-hmm. But then because the Irish had the beef with the English were like, all right, we're not going to do any trading. Mm-hmm. Then on top of all that, this is all because on top of all that, then the only country that was looking out for us was the United States.
Okay.
And then of course they decided to have prohibition, and that was just
and
the
that
nail
was just,
in the coffin.
Yeah, that just
so that put like
everything.
Irish whiskey to sleep for quite some time. So now in the last 20 years or so, it's starting to come back to life. But Jameson, as I said, had a lot to do with making it fun and approachable. And
Really, all that
the
time.
cool thing about Irish whiskey is that they actually make whiskey just as good as Scotch, but it doesn't have the airs and graces. Because when I think of Scotch, I think of like Caddyshack. I think of the country club with the judge, like all those old people that hate me, you know?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Scotch does, like, I don't want to say distinguish, but it just kind of gives you a different kind of thought process.
Yeah, so basically, whereas Irish whiskey is just all about going out with your friends and it
fun.
brings everyone together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you can spend like Redbreast, so you can't spend money on it, and it's only going to get better in the next couple of years. So it's a fun. It's going to keep the Irish bars alive. Thank God, because we're hanging on by a thin thread right now.
Why you say that? Why you say
we're not the cool bar? Like there was the whole mixology thing for a while, and we weren't. We were more like some people always said, like, but the Irish bar is the American bar.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's because it's always been there, but we're just not. We weren't like the cool kids, you know. We weren't the mixologists and the cocktailologists. Mm-hmm. You know, we're just like, how you doing? You want to have a pint of Guinness? You know, here you go. And
maybe that's just not with me, not what I kind of like far as bar wise. Those are always the bars. I never really like mixed stuff. I'm more of a on the rocks about as much as I like. I'm not a big mix, put everything together.
I'm like you. I'm like, if the product is good. See, historically, cocktails were made during Prohibition. America basically has invented the cocktail.
Okay, well, tell us
the liquor
about
was
that.
so bad that they had to make it palatable.
They had to doctor it up.
Yeah, because it wasn't legal. Like, you've got a cocktail like the Bronx, which is like a bathtub gin with different vermouth in it. Mm-hmm. But they'd make it so you could still enjoy it.
Okay.
You know, and that's why cocktails were developed originally.
Okay.
But now, flash forward to 2020, we have all this great liquor that's just like so good, and their distillers go to so great lengths, and the guys that work in the cooperage who make there's so much detail. Mm-hmm. It's like you don't have to you don't have to do that much work. You're trying too hard. Now, don't get me wrong, the 2000s were all about the speakeasy, and I think that's kind of starting to play out now. Mm-hmm. I think we're getting back to where it's the friendly bartender.
Yeah,
and that's where we should have been, but we're kind of getting back to where
I've been to the speakeasy before, like low lights, and it's like you gotta like sneak in there and everything else. Those aren't my favorites. I just wanna.
It's fun. It's a novelty, but it's.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're. And you know what? And then I remember at the beginning of the year, a lot of the New Year's parties were like Roaring 20s parties because we were going into 2020. So there were a lot of, maybe they'll do that again for 21 since 2020.
Oh, they will. When COVID's over, it's going to be it's going to be the Roaring 20s.
Yeah, like I said, this one was such a dud of a year, but we're still here. We just got to wait to see what's coming next. As far as another drink wise, because you like have all of the information about the history of all of the different liquors. I like that's.
I'm
that's
just a nerd, you know. I just like to read, and as I said, Irish whiskey's going to make a comeback.
like on pretty much every podcast. I always talk about how much homework I have to do because like when the guests come on and they know about something, I want to know about it too. So
You know, it's just like rye whiskey is really strong because so what happened is all the people bought the cognac when Prohibition happened. All the rich people bought the cognac.
okay,
So then the blue collar people, they could get rye. They couldn't get cognac.
so they had to get
So that's
kind
what
of
made
what's
rye.
left.
You know, but now there's a rebirth of rye as well. Like Old Forester has a really nice rye,
Right.
And it's coming back. And it's also if you drink a lot of whiskey, like I used to drink a lot of whiskey, and the problem with bourbon is it's too soft. Like your palate changes, and then it's like when you go to Florida and you see grandma and she's having like a room temperature gin martini. You know, because she's been drinking her whole life, right?
Yeah.
If I drank that now, I'm going to curl up into the fetal position. Yeah? But she's used to it. But so for me, with whiskey, it's like you drink Irish whiskey, which is kind of sweet. I know it sounds crazy when you think about brown liquor, when you think it's sweet, but it's not like
No,
really
it is.
sweet.
It is sweet.
But there's a
yeah.
sweet finish to it. There's some cognacs that have a sweet finish, like bourbon,
A lot of the
Scotch.
cognacs are sweet to me because like.
But the thing is, that's why I like rye because it has that kind of kick on the end of it.
Yeah.
You know, but I think if you drank rye at the beginning, you'd be like, ugh, like a kid, you know, like, oh, what is this? You
Yeah.
know?
Cognac, yeah, it's a little too sweet for me. I'm not a huge cognac fan. If that's what's available and that's what you're offering me, I'll taste it, but it's not my go-to. I remember one of my a guy I worked with, my captain, his go-to drink was gin. And I was always taught that gin was like a very serious person drink. And then you can't shake it in a martini because then it bruises it and it's like all cloudy and ugly looking. So got any good gins, stories or anything?
Well, gin basically is grain alcohol with juniper berries.
Okay.
So you can make your own gin. Gin is so easy to make. It's basically so you could use like Everclear, you could use vodka, you could and you just put your stuff in there. You can make gin in a couple of days.
You just let it sit.
Irish whiskey, you have to make. It takes 3 years to make it. Gin, you can make it in the morning. You can make it in a couple of days. You're good to go.
Okay, so it's easy, breezy, simple if that's what you want to go with. So we talked about gin, we talked about vodka. You kind of told me you was talking about rum with the Bacardi people. I'm just trying to think of what all goes in a
Rum is
Long
great,
Island.
but it's like, it all goes in there. But
Right.
rum is great. It's sweet. You know, it's made
It's
from sugar
sweet.
cane.
Yeah, it's another one.
It's great. I associate rum with like vacation. Like
Okay.
a good daiquiri, like a real daiquiri. You know, like Cuba Libre, rum and coke. Of course, the pina colada.
Yep.
Everyone loves the pina colada.
Everybody knows the pina colada.
You know, but you got to have it on the beach, you know, with
not
with
here.
all the beautiful people up by the water.
It's no fun in the winter.
It's just, you know, Bahama breeze and Schaumburg doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, it doesn't put my mind there. But
When you're in Miami in the Keys or whatever, and you're in Ocean Drive, and you're paying, and then you get the check, and it's like $42. What
for one? Yeah. When me and Ambrosia were doing our show, we had a like rum-tastic episode because she was really big into rum. We talked about Sailor Jerry, Bacardi, and another couple, and just like kind of the whole history of where it came from. So, yeah, she knows all about all the alcohol lever.
Oh yeah, this rum's got some great stories and things that has a holding. It would hold. The British sailors had it because it would hold.
Yep.
Whereas a lot of the other stuff would go bad.
Yep.
It was given to them as rations, and again, so anywhere you go in the world, you can get rum pretty much anywhere.
And to speak to rum, so like you were saying, sailors, I have to add a fire story because I'm a fireman. And I don't know if I put this in the book or not. I have to reread it again. But the thing is, there was a wall collapse, and one of the chiefs was out rationing rum to the firefighters to fight this fire that was going on for forever. And the wall, like I said, collapsed on them. That's back before we could do, we can't do that kind of stuff now. But, and it just fell on them. But because he was a sailor and a lot of the sailors ended up being firefighters, that was the drink of choice for guys. And that like kind of gave them those rum muscles to be able to get the job done and do everything. So I hope they were at least feeling good before the worst happened to them. But that's kind of what happened. So
Yeah, it is flammable.
it is flammable. Well, it was inside them at that point. So, and like I said, the wall got them, not the fire, but bad for everybody.
Crazy.
So, gin, vodka, rum, and whiskey, bourbon, Yeah, that's pretty much.
Talked about tequila.
That's pretty mezcal. What about?
Mezcal is very smoky.
Uh-huh.
I think, from my limited understanding, obviously we don't sell a lot of mezcal. Our brand, we carry La Luna. That's our main mezcal, and it is really good. It's got some really smokiness to it. But mezcal is kind of, for right now, it's you really have to go with whatever the brand is, because the regulations are kind of it's cloudy. Does that make sense? Mezcal's going through what tequila went through already, like to get their rating and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of an individual. It's like family to family kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
Okay, I do kind of understand what you're talking about.
They're kind of going through the process. I'm sure in a couple of years it'll be solids.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. They are.
But you said you like Lefroy.
Yes.
Right, and you like. I recommended that Irish whiskey Connemara if you like smoke.
Yes.
But I think La Luna. Their mezcal has, if you like smoke, it's got some really nice smoke.
Got a real smoky taste to it. Okay, I'm with that. It was two more alcohols I want to ask you about. The Chicago Great Malort. What about? You know anything about Malort?
Yeah, so Malort was basically, I believe it got set up by the Swedes when they moved here, and it's wormwood liqueur. And during Prohibition. This is a fun fact for you. Malort wasn't banned during Prohibition because it was considered only to be used for medicinal purposes.
Okay.
So even back then, they're like, "Oh, no one's ever going to drink this in a bar."
Let's have it.
And here we are in 2020, and they're all like, "Yeah, give me a shot of Malort."
Yeah, Malort is what's it called, the Chicago Handshake.
Oh, like a PBR and a shot of Malort.
Yeah,
or an old style and a shot of Malort.
Yeah, because it's just like, and then it's like disgusting. Well, I like it, but people hate it. It's either you love or you hate.
You get used to it.
Yeah, and like I said, I was hanging out in bars a lot at the time.
Yeah, it doesn't work on you anymore. You're like,
I had a lot of handshakes.
yeah, it's like after a while you get like grapefruit notes off it.
Yeah, absolutely right, and that's why I said you get into all of those super descriptions. It would be very interesting. And the last one, I can think of the color of it, but I can't think of the name of it. It's like green, and you pour it over the sugar cube, and it's supposed to make you hallucinate.
Oh, absinthe.
Absinthe, yeah, that one.
Yeah, Vincent Van Gogh cut his ear off.
Yes, that's the one. Any stories about?
From what I gather, I do. The guys in New Orleans, they distribute an absinthe called Lucid. From historically, it was banned in America for a long time.
Right.
But then this guy called Tim Bro, he went through all the process with the government to get it back into the States. It's made from like a root that grows under the ground, and then they ferment that, and that's how they make it. But historically, absinthe has for some reason, artistic people love it.
Okay.
Like Van Gogh used to drink it. You know Vincent Van Gogh?
Yes.
Café de Nuit, one of my favorite paintings. He used to drink it. You know, obviously things didn't work out so good for him because he killed himself. But, but also, are you familiar with, have you ever seen that movie Fear and Loathing Las Vegas?
No. I know it, but I've never seen it.
Hunter S. Thompson, he used to drink that. He was the author of that book. He's also good friends with Johnny Depp. And he was a real oddball. You have to read some of his books. It's fantastic reading.
Okay.
But Fear and Loathing...
Homework, I'm with that.
Yeah, read Fear and Loathing, you'll laugh. There's just some stuff in the book. It's just, you don't know if it's real or if he's hallucinating. So a lot of artistic people drink it because they think it's kind of got... it's good for them, or it's going to help their creativity.
I will check that out.
So obviously, I would recommend to drink responsibly.
Well, that's with everything. But
yes, sir.
Is it especially that one? Because
it's just there's a lot of legendary stories, you know.
It was a movie, I think, one of those silly movies, like I think Euro Trip or something like that, and they drank it, and like a little green guy that looked like Marvin the Martian, not Marvin the Martian, the other Martian from the Flintstones, the one that had on the helmet, and probably like. I saw it in reruns. Anyway, this guy was like chasing him around in the rest of the movie, but it had like a licorice taste because I had it before and I didn't go crazy. So, or I might be crazy now. I don't know. We have to figure it out. Well, before we get out of here, Tony, is there anything that you want to say or promote or big up or anything?
Just watch out for my short when it comes out. We're going to call it the same as the series. It's going to be called Wide Awake 52.
Wide Awake 52.
You'll know all about. I'll be telling you all about it when it comes out. And it's okay not to be okay. And, if you're not feeling good, just, reach out to a friend. It only takes 2 minutes, and I'm sure there's someone out there. You can call me.
You can call me, yeah, for sure.
It's never that bad, It's like, But we just need to say it's okay to ask for help.
It's okay. It's okay to not be okay. I love that. That's a saying that I use a lot and tell people. And, if somebody does take the time to reach out to you, even if you don't feel like you're the one that can help, I always suggest people direct them to somebody else. Like, you say, oh, this is kind of heavy. Don't just put them off or take their feelings for granted.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's okay to ask for help.
It
and it only takes you 2 minutes.
Yep.
And there's a lot of people that went through the same thing you're going through. It's not the end of the world.
Yep. I had to learn that lesson.
We just have to start talking. We have to start just talking about things like that and just say, hey, this is just. We are, it's like when you go have a toothache, what do? You go to the dentist, right?
Yeah.
But when we're hurt inside, we don't talk. We keep it up. Especially, I know the ladies be mad, but being a guy and everything, it's like, oh, you're supposed to be tough.
No, that's what we do. You're absolutely right. And that shouldn't be the case.
And then it just boils up and then it gets worse, and it's like, COVID's going to be over soon. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be, 21 is looking really good.
21 is looking great. Anything is looking better than 20 at this point.
Don't worry, man. You can tell your grandkids about it. You survived the coronavirus.
Oh, man. That's.
What did you do? Oh, I watched Netflix for like 6 months.
My God. That's that glass half full. I love that attitude. Right. You can tell your grandkids about it. Like the guest before, they said the books on this or the chapters in the history books on this. I said it's going to be a whole book itself. It's just going to be 2020, the book, the epic story. So. Tony, thank you very, very much for coming on, and I really look forward to checking out your web series, Wide Awake 52. I'm with that.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
With that being said, one more time before I get out of here, I do have to promote my buddy's clothing line, 13th Floor. He has that code Department 3C or DEPT 3C for 15% off. And Uplift, Empower, Elevate. And from me, Severen Henderson, you can find me at www.department3c.com. Soon, one day, eventually. Department 3C is on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And if you want to follow me and hear my stories and see the little stuff that I put personally, I am Sevy. With that being said, talk to you later. Bye.
This has been a Fire and Iron Media production. You have something to say, people want to listen. How's that, Daddy?